up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show my people. Belize our hopes for to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that will feel happen like I got blue skies. I love it make people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play around, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show my people. Belize our hopes so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that will feel happen under God blue skies. I love it that people get victimized. Let's work together for better. We got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB.
right, welcome. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on a Friday morning. It's the first day of November 2024. I'm Nuri Mohammed, and we welcome you to the program this morning. As you know, we have certain steps that we go through. You hear this every morning. We give you an update on the weather, and then we bring you up to date from our news center with a news brief. And after that, we open the phone lines and begin our conversation for this morning, first day of November 2024. Our meteorologist this morning is Miss Kamabach, one of the seniors. Welcome, Miss Catherine.
Good morning, Belize. Moist and somewhat unstable conditions prevail. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her waters calls for sunny skies today with cloudy intervals, along with a few showers or periods of rain to develop mainly offshore and along coastal areas. High temperatures today will range from 85 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast to 89 inland and 75 over the mountains. Tonight and tomorrow, skies will be mostly cloudy, along with a few outbreaks of showers and isolated thunderstorms to develop mainly along coastal areas. Low temperatures tonight will be 77 along coastal areas to 72 over inland and 65 in the higher elevations. The winds will blow from the northeast at 5 to 15 knots and the sea state will be choppy. A high tide will occur at 10:08 a.m. followed by a low at 3:39 this afternoon. Another high will occur at 7:25 tonight and a low at 4:41 a.m. The sun rose at 5:51 a.m. and set at 5:20. The moon comes up at 5:53 a.m. and will set at 5:25 p.m. The outlook for Saturday and Saturday night is for cloudy intervals with a few outbreaks of showers and thunderstorms. In the sargassum forecast, sargassum impacts are expected to remain minimal for the next 2 weeks. And in a tropical weather outlook, a broad area of low pressure that is likely to develop over the southwestern Caribbean Sea during the next day or so have a low chance in 48 hours but a high chance through 7 days. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
Private radio in Belize since 1989. Creme FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Southern and coastal areas of the country have been experiencing the most rainfall since Wednesday as we go through another wave of moist weather typical of this time of the year. There were 2 inches of rainfall over Toledo, especially Barranco. The west also got some rain, but the majority happened offshore and along coastal areas. More rainfall is also expected in the next few days. So far, the forecast is for 2 to 4 inches of rainfall through to Monday. However, that is expected to occur mostly along offshore as well as coastal areas. We hear from Shanae Young, the senior climatologist at the National Met Service.
So overall, over our area, we have very moist and somewhat unstable conditions prevailing for the last few days. We got somewhat of a break for the earlier parts of yesterday, but for many areas, especially along coastal and offshore areas, they have been receiving rainfall since this morning. It has decreased slightly and has moved inland, but there are some showers that are approaching the country.
How soon could we start seeing that next wave of showers?
I would say maybe like in the next 2 hours or so for Belize City area. But the southern and western parts of the country are getting light rains at the moment.
Talk to us a little bit about what kind of rainfall we've been seeing in terms of the amounts.
So for today, the rainfall has been mostly along the coast and offshore areas, with a little bit over an inch near Belize City and also in the south, over Punta Gorda and Barranco. Most areas of the country did receive some amount of rainfall since midnight, but not as much, less than 10 millimeters. So basically, just like a brief shower since midnight, but most of the activity has been near the Belize City area and offshore since midnight. Since yesterday, um, the southern and coastal parts of the country has been the area that has been receiving most of the rains. So yes, between yesterday and today, in the south, they got the most with about 2 inches of rainfall over Toledo, especially near Barranco. So the western parts of the country got rains yesterday also, but not as much as the coast and some southern locations.
The north received a little over 2 inches of rain, and that has led to flooding in areas in the Orange Walk district known as Albion. This includes the villages of San Antonio, Santa Cruz, and San Ramon near the Hondo River, Rio Hondo. It was preceded by another wave of rainfall about 2 weeks ago, which compounded the situation. The Belize Defense Force has deployed small vessels to assist with getting people out of their workplaces, school, and to conduct their daily affairs. Present on the ground was the area representative Ramon Monchi Cervantes. The Prime Minister John Briceño, along with the head of NEMO, Mr. Daniel Mendez, also visited the area yesterday.
Well, certainly your heart goes out to the people that are being affected, but every year this happens, and I think that our people have to be more realistic. Climate change upon us. We're having more rain and stronger rains, so obviously these floodings are not going to stop. So I think that there are a number of things that I think that as a government we need to take a hard look for the long term. For instance, right now I was talking to the representative about the riverbanks, that probably we need to declare all of the riverbanks as a reserve so that we could prevent people from building too close to the river. When it's not raining, it's beautiful and you want to live by the river, but look at what's happening. And this is going to happen every year and it's going to get worse. Unfortunately, we're told that this weekend we expect probably another 2 to 3 inches of rain in the entire country. So this is not going to stop. Douglas, I remember from the time when my father was a representative in 1974 to 1984. It was during his time, I think it's around 1976, that the flooding was so bad that they set up Nuevo San Juan, so that everybody should have moved to Nuevo San Juan. Many moved, but a lot stayed. And some of them that moved sold their land in the Nuevo San Juan and came back to Douglas. Every year, we're spending an inordinate amount of monies and effort to try to help. As it is right now, we're looking at declaring Douglas, that the health department should declare it a health hazard. And so that because of the pit latrines, there are many pit latrines are underwater, so all of that water is coming out and people can get sick. So we are again working with the representative, with Monchi, be fixing the community center in San Pablo between today and tomorrow, so that by Saturday they could move everybody out there. But again, speaking with the rep, thinking long term, certainly in our next government, God willing, we may need to buy out all of these people and give them land somewhere else, and so then we can just shut down Douglas Village, and then so that then people can go there for recreational purposes but not to live, because every year we have the same problem over and over and over. and they expect the government to help them. It's not fair to our Belizean taxpayers to be able to every year to go and bail out, although we have to help them. We're citizens. So we have to start to think about long term.
We also hear from Daniel Mendez, the national coordinator of NEMO, on how they are assisting.
We have been in operation since before Tropical Storm Nadine, so the operations up in the north have not stopped really. So they have only changed, and so we have been coordinating the support to all of the affected communities. So what you see out here today is the result of that coordination, our ability to ensure that we're able to mobilize resources to assist any affected community. So we have gone from the BDF driving across to providing boat services, and so we will continue to do this as long as necessary in this village and any other village that is being affected.
In terms of, the ministers mentioned, here in San Antonio, we're seeing some residents affected. Has there been any shelters open or, just information about how many families are being affected?
Well, I don't have that number directly. The Orange Walk team will have that number. But what I can tell you is that if there is a need to open shelters, those will be opened as necessary, and the assessments will be conducted on persons who were affected to ensure that they receive assistance.
In terms of, moving forward, if the situation is to get worse, like they are expecting it to, what is the next step in terms of what you guys are doing? Getting people across, would there be a need to stop, or what would be that situation?
Well, we will continue to do assessments as necessary. If there's a need to change the plan, we will do so. If there's a need to add more to it, we will do so as well. But it's a constant process. Every day we do assessment. We do constant risk assessments as well to make sure that what we're doing is also ensuring that people's safety is our number one priority. So it continues. It's a daily base. It's a daily thing. I can't really tell you what will happen tomorrow because things may change quickly. But we maintain that flexibility both at the national and district level.
Today, the Prime Minister plans to go into the Belize River Valley along with NEMO Minister Andre Perez. Meanwhile, there's a broad area of low pressure that the National Met Service is monitoring. When we interviewed Young yesterday afternoon, she indicated that the chance of formation through Saturday is about 10%. In the 7-day outlook, though, it has a moderate potential or 60% chance of forming into a tropical depression. However, the projected path is for it to head northward in the direction of Jamaica. According to the Met Office, it is only expected to pass near us. If anything changes, they will so advise.
Yes, our peak for Belize especially is normally between September and October. So that's why most of our storms or tropical cyclones tend to affect us during that period. But that's not to say that you can't get storms forming outside of the period and even outside of the hurricane season, because we have had storms form later or other parts of the year. So, but for us, at least in the next 7 days, even though there is this broad area of low pressure currently, there's nothing that has developed in the area. And then also, at least the models are indicating at this time that even if something does form, it's not going to come towards us. But like I mentioned, we are in the hurricane season, so we're supposed to always be monitoring. And that is exactly what we do here at the Met Office, 24 hours monitor, just in case that anything does develop. But at least for now, in the next 7 days, even with this area of low pressure, it doesn't look like it will be of a threat to us. We will get rains because it is very close to us, and the entire area, the entire Northwest Caribbean, is very moist and unstable. Hence the reason why we have been getting rains, not necessarily from this area of low pressure, but just overall in the region. It is still very moist, and that will continue at least for the next few days.
Is it too early right now to say if there's even any potential of it coming more down toward our area? Yeah, if you could speak to that.
At this moment, no. And There are several reasons for that, but one of it is that we are moving out of the hurricane season, like Jules mentioned, and then starting to go into the dry season where we normally get, like, the frontal systems moving closer to our area, and that tends to steer these later season storms away from our area or more northward, as most of the models have been indicating for this particular system. It will be following the movement of the frontal systems or upper level highs that occur during this time of year.
November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and it continues to be a disease that affects many Belizeans. Dr. Melissa Diaz Musa, the Director of Public Health and Wellness, shared what the ministry is doing to encourage a healthier lifestyle. Dr. Diaz Musa admits that for the past few years, the situation has not seen any real improvement when it comes to tackling the disease in the country.
Yes, well, a lot of our public health programs and projects are aimed at reducing NCDs, which are non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases remain in the top 5 for morbidity and mortality in Belize for 5 consecutive years. So this includes diabetes, deaths from hypertension, cardiovascular disease, cancer. So these are areas that we need to ensure that we put priority in. And we're doing a number of programs. Like I mentioned, we're trying to start with the students as young as preschool. We've been going into and giving health education and talks, and doing a little bit more than that. We're working with the Ministry of Education, we're working with the Ministry of Agriculture, with PAHO, with UNICEF. So it is a collective collaboration that we're working at to reduce the NCDs, namely obesity, which can lead to these diseases. It has remained pretty much constant for the last 5 years. The NCDs are in the top 5, as I said. It might be 3 or 4, but it remains pretty much constant. So we know that there's a lot of work that we have to do. Launching the Love Your Heart campaign as well, that has been very instrumental in helping to get people moving, get people walking, and we're offering free exercise, yoga, and dance classes in Orange Walk and in Belmopan on a regular basis. So these things are helping people to come out and to get moving. It helps with the cardiovascular aspects, and it helps with your fitness and mental health.
Before coming to office and since assuming power in November of 2020, the Minister of Infrastructure Development was asked and committed to having public works contract uploaded to a website. That has not happened, and Minister Julius Espat was asked about that this week.
Well, we have been open. Whenever the media has requested any information from our ministry, we have provided them. In fact, Jules has requested contracts from us in the past, and we have provided it to him.
But should we have to ask?
We are no. You are taking us to a level that we all want to achieve, and I believe the government of Belize is presently working on that right now with the digitization of the entire ministries. It's not only MIDH, it's all ministries. And so they are working on a portal that is not specific per ministry. In fact, they have opened up a central procurement unit that is in charge of that under the Ministry of Finance. They are going through I think the final phases in how to address the digitization of contracts. But yes, it's important. But we have tried as best as we can to be as open as we possibly can.
And that's our news brief for the first day of November 2024. There is more coming up after. There's another brief coming up at 12 o'clock, right after the morning stew, one at 3 o'clock, and a full news broadcast at 5:15. All this on Creme Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the full news broadcast, optics and all, at 6 o'clock this evening. It's a minute to 7 o'clock. We'll take a short break, come back, open up the phone lines, and begin our conversation for today.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
right, welcome back. This is our Friday version or session of WUB, and we welcome you, and we hope that you will join us through our connections that we have here. Our phone number is 280-5848, and you can feel free to call us now. There are a number of things in the headlines. Probably the weather is the most predominant. If you notice that took up most of our news brief because the rain has been continuous. Of course, the dangers of flooding, etc., has been our main concern. We have not lost anybody so far with our flooding, but it is inconvenience for many people who live in not only rural areas, but even here in the city of Belize. There are areas that are inundated with water, and even though it's not an emergency crisis that calls out authorities, for the individuals that live in that area, it's a real stress because there's, well, number one, we in Belize City are underwater. A lot of people don't recognize the fact that we are below the sea level. And so whenever there's a rain, regardless to how structured the streets are, we're going to get covered streets. The issue has always been, do we have the drains to allow the water when it comes on to go off immediately? Somebody remarked to me yesterday that if we remember, the old colonialists recognized a long time ago, because this being underwater, I mean being below the sea level, is not something recent, that is the part of our geography. And so these canals that were dug and the many drainage system that was done in Belize City was because of the fact that we gather water whenever there's any hard rain. The problem is that the drains are not always kept clean, and when they clog up, we end up with the situation that we see on certain streets. And it is a nuisance to people because, you know, you can't walk with your shoes, you have to get rubber boots, you have to, some people walk barefooted, and etc. So it's a real inconvenience. While rain is better than hurricane, the fact is that rain is a great inconvenience to some people in the urban area and in the rural area, where the possibilities of flood because of low-lying areas becomes even more problematic. We hear that in the Orange Walk district by the border, by Rio Hondo, that people actually need the help of the BDF to move them around. As you remember, a few years ago, the BDF had to be in the Crooked Tree area, bringing people across that almost lagoon that fills that roadway during heavy rains. That apparently has been augmented and maybe even corrected by the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, and that new road that has been paved over and retrofitted is not creating the problem that it did a few years ago. But going forward, dealing with this natural issue of rain and heavy rains and the impact of floods, etc., goes with our area, goes with our territory. Our numbers here, 280-5848, and you're welcome to call and to be a part. The statistical unit is telling us that what we already know, that consumer prices are up, inflation is a problem, people are not able to stretch their dollar to buy their essentials, and you know, if it was that we didn't have money for what we like or what we want, then you could understand. But when we are having problems with getting what we need, such as vegetables, which has gone sky high, then it affects not just our comfort, it affects our health, it affects our well-being, it affects everything when we are overwhelmed with this thing called inflation. And it doesn't help to hear that this is a worldwide inflation or that the part of the world is coming out of inflation. That means nothing to the ordinary citizen. What matters to us is that when we used to spend an amount of money, say $100, and bring in X amount of groceries and necessary items for survival, we all of a sudden find out that $100 cannot buy the amount that it used to buy, say, a year or more ago. Sister Koyi always makes the reference to oranges, as she did yesterday, when orange was 10 for $1. Mine is banana. I love bananas. And so it was a time when we got 10 bananas for $1. Bananas is going down now. Yesterday I bought banana and it was like 5 for $1. So we are being impacted by this thing called inflation, which means just the difficulty of making ends meet with essentials, not luxury. The Statistical Institute of Belize is saying, well, you know, there's lower opportunities for buying homes and for buying vehicles and for buying those things. And while those things are in the category of need, we can put them off for a little while. But we can't put off food prices. We can't put off the essential items that's necessary for us to live a healthy life. And so inflation becomes an issue, hard time when people cannot afford what they need. Our numbers here is 280-5848. Again, the effort of the MSME, which is an effort on the part of the government to provide money for small and medium businesses. And we see some of their advertisement and their PR focusing on individuals in the Orange Walk district, seems primarily. In certain other areas, people are getting access to these funds. But there's a whole area, maybe a neglected sector, where these agencies do not go in and find out how can I help the person who make panades, who make tamales, who cook regularly every day to try to make ends meet, and they may be a kitchen business. Have they gone into these areas to see how they can offer assistance? It's not only when you put up shingles and say, all right, I am in business here. There are other people who may not even be at that level, but they're very much small businesses that need assistance. Welcome, caller. You're our first call for this morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning, brother.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Hey, how you doing?
Man, I'm alive and feeling good, you know, thank God. How are you?
No, brother, we know that health is well.
Boy, tell me about it. Tell me about it. And you know something? I mean, at the break-in like this car, we know each other. You don't really realize how valuable is your health till you're losing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of way, you know, Dr. Melissa said yesterday, Dr. Melissa Diaz Musa, she said that there's a problem in getting men to really understand how important it is for them to check on their health, because we have one tendency to delay it until things really get out of hand. And so the oncologist says that most men who come to check on cancer or certain other diseases usually get there in the last stage. That means we get all kind of signs, but we don't really move on it. Whereas women are not like that. They are into getting their mammogram, getting their pap smear, getting their other checkups to ensure that they're ahead of cancer. But me and you, we don't do that. and there should be a regular, once a year at least, checkup that you do a total physical to try to determine, you know, if anything the growing at you or anything obstructing your normal process, you know, before it's too late. You know how it is, my brother. Well, I gotta leave pain, yeah, I gotta leave, you know. But true.
I could tell you, friend, I am guilty. I don't want to be guilty of that.
Yeah, man. Most of it. Most of it. Yeah. And you know something, not only we, you know, because I've seen this trend in Jamaica, reading about it. Here, the trend with the African American, I've read about it, that things like prostate cancer and things catch right up and we're in at the last stage. Even though one of the symptoms of increased swelling of your prostate is that your urine doesn't come out properly, you know, they come out like they normally come out. And even though we see that, we don't go check. So we leave it and leave it and leave it, and when we do go there, we're there at the last stages of that problem. So, yeah, man, we need to talk about it and get... Yeah.
But it's good to go take the checkup.
Very important, brother.
Very important.
Very important.
So
yeah.
I will encourage, especially males, to go take their checkup, and that included me.
Yes.
I hesitant when it comes to that.
Yes, indeed.
All right, but you're on the inflation part. You know, that is one of the reasons I believe. I don't worry, America has never been there. 22 of us siblings, and I'm the only one has never been to America.
22 brother and sister.
All of us was 22 of us. Some die now. I'm the only one has never been to America.
Boy, that is a... We like talk about history in Belize, but you know they kind of maternal miracles. We don't talk about that, man. 22 children.
In my life, I had only gone outside this country 2 times. One time to Chetumal and the next time to the border down west. I never even reached Guatemala side.
Yes.
So I hear I call no man's land. And I come back. That's all my trouble.
Yeah.
All my things are right here.
Yes.
But when it comes to inflation, and I have said it, there's already got Donald Trump might win the election. Like I said, I don't worry the outside thing. But people that it's hard to put food on the table.
Yeah, brother.
Because if you don't spend $250, that's our household, or maybe 5. Maybe every weekend, say $250, kind of high, but I'll put it there. You know you have to spend right now about $400.
Yeah.
That's the amount of grocery where you may get.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. Then, on top of that, your pay no gone up.
Yeah.
That's where they show. So you have to dig in our money for grocery. We have got other things too we have to find.
Yeah.
And this is where the problem come in.
Yeah.
And every single day you go to the grocery store, like the prices are going up.
Yeah.
You see? And government have a big role to play. Because whenever a container come in, I don't care when I say, duty, you have to pay a duty. You have to pay a duty. And these containers are coming in, people have to pay shipping fee, all of that. When it comes to the bottom line, after they pay their duty and everything, and they add up, well, we have to add this and it, so we make our profit. So, who takes the lick at the end?
Always we.
Humans.
Yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
Then then the retailers there come in, and they will buy it. But, we buy it to this price, so we add on again. So we take lick right along the line. They don't lose.
Yeah.
So we take lick. So government initiative is very important.
Yeah.
When it comes to duties, to try control certain items and things on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because we are feeling it, brother. Then it comes to the fuel. We fuel everything.
No, that's not the problem.
Everything, now fuel.
Everything.
And then the price of fuel is very high.
Yeah.
And why some people don't need vehicle, a lot of us need vehicle.
Why? I don't know. You know, Carla, I mean, I'm telling you that in the mornings and in the afternoon, say like after 3, 4, 5, we actually got traffic jam in a Belize City. And that didn't used to be the amount of vehicles in the city. It's incredible, man. I mean, and I'm talking about sometimes one good 10 or 15 minute wait, bumper to bumper, trying to get out of the city or come back into the city is jammed up in the early morning and the evening.
On top of that, we need checkpoints. I know they say we don't need it, but there is too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the condom you meet like 4 checkpoints, and sometimes you have to stop 15 minutes again, you have to burn up fuel.
Yeah.
We don't say we don't need checkpoints, but we don't need too much. And I like, you're not wrong with saying road. It's rough.
Yeah.
And at the time when they do the checkpoint, you're doing an airline, sometimes you got to leave your schedule. Well, you don't know I could get to point A to point B.
Yeah.
And when you meet them checkpoint, you get humbled.
Yeah.
So you only leave money, you got your budget fit up. Here are they. When you're in a long line, you run out of gas.
Yes. So
you must also consider all these things when it comes to inflation, because people check right along the line.
Yeah, indeed.
And it's very important for government and people and everything that government, but government got a big role, that's why we put them there. We hire them to run things for we.
Yeah.
Nothing there.
Well, at the same time, we have to sleep with our own eye.
Definitely.
Because if you see the circumstances that change, you can't wait for government. You can't wait for government to adjust it to your situation. You better do your part and realize that. The luxury where you used to enjoy at one time, you have to put it off until there's a time when I could enjoy that luxury again. But if you try to enjoy the luxury and then find out at the end of the day when essential items need to be in your family, you can't buy it because you enjoy yourself over here. You gotta watch that.
That's for them, jolly people. I ain't never been that much. You know me.
No man, I know you, but
I try to roll out.
You're old school. But the modern generation, they spend. And if you know the community, we as human beings, we have to watch how they live. Yes.
We have to change with the time, like you say. But the extravagance starts from the government part, because a lot of them, they live their luxurious life. Look at the Prime Minister. For him, fuel bill of $4,000 a month. Just the fuel bill. No perks, $4,000 a month, transportation of $48,000 a year. It's just for him fuel. And the vehicle you still have to talk about.
Yes, I hear you.
Brother, these people got it. They could cut that off. So it's 6 times hard. They could cut that in a half to help the people there. But they live their luxurious life too. And when they put the family member, they head all these departments and things, and they get their big money again, and we pay for that.
Let me use this conversation to bring forward something where we used to talk about some years ago. And that is the differences between the political parties. You talk about the expense of the Prime Minister's fuel bill. If we fast forward that or even go backward to be safer, go backward to the previous administration.
Yeah, definitely.
They may do the same thing. And so, there's a culture there that when I reach and my turn now, not criticize me, because when you criticize me, I want to tell you, well, the last group used to do the same thing. So we keep inheriting this behavior of expenses, and it's justified, living expenses, telephone expenses, etc., etc. Now, suppose somebody enter with one different ideology and say that instead of me buying one very fancy vehicle, one very high-end vehicle, I want to get one ordinary Ford vehicle, brand new, but Ford vehicle, much less expensive. I'm talking to you because that's your profession, that's your area. Much less expensive. I want to start to, instead of every single ministry get X amount of vehicles, I'm going to cut that down by ensuring that we have these buses that leave every hour from Belize City to Belmopan and to the other areas, and encourage the public officers, instead of using your own vehicle or a government vehicle, to get into these, what do they call them in America again? You know, when a group of people get in a vehicle and drive to save them.
Pool, like a pool.
Yeah, pool. Yeah. Brother is reminding me. So we could do that, but it would require almost one drastic ideological change where people will criticize and say, it will bring communism, it will bring socialism, and all that kind of give you the freedom to do what we want under a free market system. But if the free market process continues to raise the cost of living, it continues to give those who are in the privileged position, or whether it's ministries or whether it's business, to continue to live a luxurious life while people at the bottom can't make ends meet. How long can we go before that clash? How long before? Yeah, well, I mean, when I talk about that, I mean people in other jurisdictions, they go into the streets. I mean, in Martinique, we don't know about Martinique, but about a month ago, because of the fact that government decided to institute something in Martinique. And Martinique, they're right here in the Caribbean. It's just, it's a French territory. The people gone in the streets. We don't see it and hear it in our media, but they were in the streets and violence. They had to bring some French troops in to try to quell the people of Martinique. So, and that was over cost of living. That was over government instituting certain things, and the people couldn't take anymore. So quiet Martinique blew up. So do we wait for these things, these inevitable things to happen, or do we start to be proactive and try to find ways that we can lower the costs, and especially at this privileged level of government, that we try our best to try to conserve? I mean,
you mentioned something about the public officers. You know, a lot of them are district and things.
Yes.
I have mentioned it on this show, that if you use those same buses, the initiative that they have with these electric buses, that then they get free and things.
Yes.
And they could carry walkers, kind of electric buses and things. You know the cost we have cut down.
Indeed.
Because sometimes each of them have a vehicle for themselves.
Yes.
So how much fuel that?
Yes, with one person in it. With one person in it. Yeah.
Correct. These buses are well equipped. They got AC. They got everything what they want.
Yes.
What they like.
Yes.
Then you could get these buses and get involved and with the public officers and all these CEOs and all of them ride the buses. It was far cheaper for us.
Yeah.
We believe them because we don't have to pay that heavy tax bill.
Yeah.
Then it comes to maintenance of vehicle and all of that.
But there's a thing.
Look at these things.
There's a thing where the British give it, man, and that is a kind of a elitist mindset. How dare you, as a CEO, drive or ride one bus? Man, you a CEO, where the bill look around and see you riding at the bus? And so there's an elitist kind of thing where affect we, that even when we become a head of department or a head of a unit or head of anything, we don't want to mingle with the ordinary people because we figure, well, why I supposed to be on a different level. The one mindset where we inherit from the British, this idea that I must be a step above, and I must, you know, and it was contrary to Mr. George Price, because Mr. George Price tried to debunk that, to be among the ordinary. Mr. Golson, the same way. You didn't see these men at no, you know, Range Rover level. They, you know, was right there where Jimmy Loco, my name, you know, the Land Rover. I don't tell you if you go way back to the Land Rover, but I'm saying the mindset was that, look, I can't go too far above where the people there. I can't be at this luxurious level where I look like I did at Salvador and these much bigger economies, and most of my people still they in a hole. So it's a mindset that we still have to overcome. They say that freedom does not come just by your policy. It starts here first. Your ideology have to change as to how you see your country and what do you think your country is all about, you know. Anyway, bro.
Yeah, man, but I know, and as always, you take care.
All right,
wish
sir.
wish your family well.
Yes.
God bless.
Thank you, my brother. Yes, it's at 7:30, 7:29 actually, and we'll break for 2 cents camp, which is sponsored by Fort Point Security. And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Friday, and you're watching WB and Creme Television and Creme Radio. You know, each and every Friday we do Big Up Friday. So make we see who are getting big up today. All right?
Well, first of all, I want to big up myself because I'm proud of myself because I'm self-employed. I have a small business here. I cater for the poor people. My name is Lisa. I'm Cumberbatch Field. And I'm here for 3 years and 2 months now. What I do here, I sell food in the morning this time. And then in the evening, I do some curl bread and bun. But my basic thing people come here for is for my chicken foot. And I name it Blessing Chicken Foot. Blessing is with my granddaughter, so my shop name Blessing Chicken Foot. She's 4 years old. You understand? She's a 4-year-old, very smart. But I tell her about this Blessing, she don't like beans. She said the beans look like roach. I don't know how you have beans. All my years I said 51, and I never hear nobody say the beans look like roach. But that's 4 years, so I can't think I look like roach.
And that big up for the Friday.
And that is big up for Friday. Thanks to Blessing Chicken Foot Style that come about Field. Thank you.
I want to big up Sonia up on the London Bridge. Got a lot of love for her. And yeah, I always got her in my mind and think about her every day and responsibly, you know what I mean? And I want to big up my son, Shane, and I want to big up Shanda. And I want to big up the whole world.
Boom. Well, I big up Friday. I just saw I big up my old lady. You know, you do good right now, but I hope his spirit they up. Big up my family, big up Belize, big up Brit, big up my world boy, big up everybody, you know. Just big up on yourself, Belize.
Oh, this is a big up Friday.
Yeah.
Big up my lease part, big up my staff who helped me, big up my customers there. I really appreciate it. Let me big up Creme, yeah?
Friday. Big up who you want big up?
You know, so I big up the environment, you know, I big up my people, you know. You know, I big up man like Sabo, you know, say. We run the whole thing in back here, you know. Look out for the youths, you know, because we need job and job come here, you know. We love the mayor. Big up the big mayor. We love the mayor because the mayor here at centerpiece in this. And we love how he just really come and help us. Take us out of the hard knock, you know what I'm saying? Make $1 to eat some every day because he rough. He rough, you know, star. You know?
Yeah, you're big up.
Yeah, man, big time.
All right.
One love, brother.
All right.
Big up Friday to my family and Nene, the Neil and the James family, and the people there from Gaza. Free them and Nene.
Used to be a time they called it Big Up Friday. We haven't been doing much big up. Every so often somebody call and big up somebody. But I don't know. We lost that desire to call and say, I want to big up so and so. But Brick is still keeping it going on 2 cents count. So we're still getting some vibes when it comes to that. Our numbers here is 280-5848. And we were talking a little bit about the inflation issue. But the bigger issue is this gap that is growing between those who have and those who don't have. And there was a time where we were literally, religiously taught to not want to have money. You may not know that, but we used to hear repeatedly that, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to make it to heaven. So we immediately say, I know I'm rich because I'm living for heaven. And if I get too rich, then, I'm spoiling my chances of getting into heaven. And we always had these ideas that, well, to be poor is to be more sacred. To be poor is to be more God conscious, and we are more God's family, and he loves us more because of the fact that we are poor. And then rich people, no worry about them. They want to get their own. They're enjoying life now and they're enjoying luxury now, but the day won't come when they want to pay. And there's much truth to that still, especially if they got their money in illegal, corrupt ways. There's no such thing as planting something that grow back. So if you plant corruption, you don't get it back. You don't have to call it karma. You call it common sense. If you put out one negative, what do you expect one positive to come to that? It's like the mafia who used to rob, kill, and extort, and then give one little bit of money to the Catholic Church, assuming that was absolution, that, you see, they give something to God where you go around to the poor. So are the thief for you, are they kill you, are they make money for you, but I don't forget one little bit of charity on this side. Well, the scripture says God no want your money when it comes from corruption, no thief, and then think you're thieving, and then you want to help me. I don't want that kind of money. I want money where you make honestly. And that's what the scripture has fallen down. They're not telling people that enough. Welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. This is Sandra.
Good morning, Sister Sandra.
My voice is a little hoarse. I'm calling about something that I really think needs media attention. I don't know if you are aware that the main gate at the Pound Yard compound at the foot of Cemetery Bridge has been closed for more than a week.
Oh.
And apparently a small little gate to the side is open, but you see how it happened? A friend called me and told me she couldn't get into the market to see somebody. Mm-hmm. And she kept, that the gate was closed. So I called somebody I knew and asked them, they said, well, a little gate is open. But when she went back, she still didn't see the little gate that was open. Some little gate. And apparently, now this has continued for more than probably 2.5 weeks thereabouts, apparently. And so when she went back the third time, that's when she was able to locate the little gate that's open rather than the big. Normally, the compound is entered by wide open gates, right? You can enter, drive your vehicle and everything. Right. But that's not happening apparently now. And I think it really needs investigation. Why is it? There's speculation, but I won't voice the speculation because I don't know. So I think it needs investigation,
Yeah.
And so many things happen. The point you're making just now, Nuri, about the behavior, well, I didn't hear it all because I just started to listen to you. I caught the end of the gentleman's discourse. But from amongst whom have our leaders come? Have they come from Mars?
No.
Have they come from Greenland? No, they have come from amongst us. So they reflect us.
Yes, they do.
And all, at least what you were citing about the car and all of that, that's the mentality of the pecking order society. The pecking order society is premised on a superior ruling set at the top with everybody else. Coming down, at the base of the pyramid is the mass of the common ordinary folk. So we for that to change, we have, as a people, have to give up the pecking order concept. And when we give up the pecking order concept and stand, somebody once told me, a young man, a friend of mine, he said, I am nobody, Miss Curry. So I was really taken aback and saddened. I said, but you are smart. You are one of the smartest minds of your generation I have dealt with. You're a handsome young man, personable. And he repeated it. I said, but the most important thing is you're a child of Almighty God. Nothing else matters. We are all God's children. We are all. Even if we as humans have worked out relationships that are different than that, that childhood makes us all equal. But I could hear the pain in his voice, and I could understand the pain. Because if somebody has shot your mother as though she were a chicken or a cow to be killed, and murdered your sister as though she had no value, her life had no value, I can understand why you would have that extremely low opinion of your worth,
Yes, indeed.
And we as a people have much to recommend ourselves, much also to be upset about, but much to recommend ourselves, Nuri. A friend of mine was telling me yesterday that her professor at law school told her, I think on more than one occasion, but definitely on one occasion, extensively commented that the Belizean students at UWI were always distinguishable by their decorum, we have a disarming habit. We are very pleasant people. And she was taken aback, at this lady's impression of that, because the other people tended to want to turn that into being docile. And yes, we are docile to an extent, and that's why our leadership walks over us. But we are also a people very committed. We are very taken aback by disorderly and this behavior. We don't quite know what to do with that because we haven't practiced it in this country. And also because most of us, we're either related, as I said, I'm quoting somebody else again, by sanguinity, by blood and affinity, friendship and so on. We're very closely connected. So you can go on a little while, but you can't go on too while. We really don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So there are pluses. We are a bright people. We are a small population, and Almighty God has compensated population size with what I call optimized intelligence. No, you can't only have optimized intelligence, you have to develop it. You see? But we have virtues. And our leadership doesn't seem to, because we ourselves subscribe to the pecking order. You know, we are we are almost ready to genuflect in the presence of political power and rich man and boss man. Let's get those words out of our vocabulary to start with. You know, Nuri, in my entire life, I've never called anybody sir and ma'am.
Oh.
Because I never did that in my home. I said mommy and daddy. I had to be polite. But in my home, I could dispute with my parents from I'm a child.
Very good.
I could say to I was allowed as a child to say to my parents, but what you're doing isn't right. That's not correct. And nobody took me to task and wanted to beat me to death or anything like that. Neither my sister nor myself. So, you know, and then most of the people who taught me were American women. And they were of that generation that was moving into the into the second half of the 20th century, and so their relationship with us was very much as they would have had a relationship with their children in America, give and take arrangement where you could, because the Americans prepare their children to take on their president, you see. To put up your hand and say, Mr. President, what is that you're saying? We don't do that. We are petrified in the presence of authority.
Power, authority. We are petrified, and that is something that we have to get rid of. You know, once I told, there was an instance in the socio-political history of this country where two men died, one after the other. Each, they died of stroke. I think both had stroke. I know definitely one had. But one of them was somebody that I had been connected to from in my teens because he had taught me. And so throughout my life, after I ever first became a student, when I go away and come back, I always visit him. Everything I needed advice on, I'd go and chat him up. And once I told him, I said, say no once. Say no once. Because he used to get diarrhea anytime he had to deal with the power structure. It really affected him. And I was much younger than he was. But I admired him as my teacher. And I said, say no once, Mr. So-and-so. The first time it will be hard. The next time it will be, and one day you will be able to say no with no problem. Just say no, but he couldn't say no. And so when confronted by a major decision at the national political level, he died. He had a stroke. Wow.
And died. And another person, for the same matter, caused another death in this country. So that is what we have to work at. You see, I heard you say, what? The British. But yes, because the British were our colonial masters. But when you study human history, the pecking order exists in Africa, in the Far East, in the Middle East. The pecking order, you know. And then in the case of Europe, you have this contradictory ideology where the ideology of Christianity, the ideal ideology, is a total variance with the real ideology. The real ideology is based on rape, sexual rape, rapacious behavior. The British send the soldiers across the channel to go fight in France. Give them the money to start the journey, then tell them, and you will live the rest of the way by pillage. by stealing and
get it how you could. Get it how you
you
could.
understand? So now they have a habit of doing that.
Yeah.
You think they got rid of that habit so easy? They don't get rid of the habit. They still have the habit is right now as we speak.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think Gaza and Palestine and Israel is all about? How you could walk into a land, well, to start with, how you can give a people a land, you got a mandate over a territory. That mandate didn't give you that territory. You were simply governing that territory for a period. And the mandate clearly told you that people you're governing are ready for independence. Well, that was the next one. Who decided these people are already independent, but you're now giving them independence. So you can get, then you decide, but I don't give them no independence, you know. I will give away their land to somebody else. This is what happened with Palestine.
Yeah, indeed.
You see, so when they don't have the money to pay you, they pay you somebody else's things, man. So that is our ruler. We have to examine ourselves. Our leaders are a reflection of us.
But you know, Sister Sandra, as you're saying it, and it makes so much sense. But to turn that tide around, especially at the root, meaning our ordinary people who are already in a kind of a rote system that you follow foot with, you know, you found your fathers doing it, so therefore you do what you found your fathers doing, and you get criticized. For example, when our young people, and I deal with youths that are like that, when they try to break that glass and go in another direction, it becomes criminalized because you're trying to break away from that subservient and get your own. But you don't know that you don't got the talent and the wherewithal. The system hasn't provided for you to use your creativity in legal ways, so you do it illegally, and the system is waiting to clamp down on you because you're doing it illegally. But at a higher level, what you're really doing is trying to break out of the subservience of saying, boy, this is the way my papa used to do it, and this is the way I want to do it. So I'm going now to the question to you. We've got to change that mindset, but that pecking order, which exists, and if you don't want to call it British, it exists so entrenched in our behavior that we will be dealing with that for many, many years to come if we don't break that or get out of that mindset. Clearly.
You see, the other day in Singapore, the ex-minister of transport was found guilty in the Singaporean court system of corruption. He started, what is this? Some car program there. When the minister of program of this man took bribes, pay under the table, and all of that. And of course, Singaporean society was totally taken aback, horrified, and the Singaporean government never wasted no time. They hurried and got him tried. He was found guilty, and they gave him a number of days to set his house in order and to report to the jail. And in the report, I think they said that had happened only once before, 50 years ago. Because the Singaporean movement of independence, for some reason, Lee Kuan Yew understood from the beginning that at the heart of their problem was change, character change that was needed. So they made a vow that they would wear white. They would always wear white. And the day that they shifted and became corrupt, then they would have to take off that dress. And he was a very, we can say he was totalitarian, but he understood that he had to set the example first, and he did. And his people, and then he made demands of his people, and discipline was practiced north, south, east, and west in that little island. Look where they are today.
Yeah.
So one at the top of the list is discipline. We You see, we accuse the politicians of being disreputable, and that they are. But we are equally disreputable.
Yes, ma'am.
What we do?
Yes, ma'am.
What we do? Look, right now, the same compound here that the Pongyard compound. How are you going to charge somebody, Nuri, $200 a day, a week, just to put up one tent, one little tent? And if you have two tents, that's $400 a week, $1,600 a month. No covering over you. It's not a built little stall you have. It's a tent. And isn't that taking advantage of people, Nuri?
You know what's worse is that I don't believe, and I think you brought it up, if not yesterday, last week, that's private property.
Yes.
That was sold by the city council to a private owner, so that money is not going into government coffers. That $1,600 is going into a private entity that owns that compound.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these are the things that then cause what you just commented on, the growing disparity between those who have resources and those who have little or none at all.
Yeah.
That is it. And then now, I go to buy from you, you are going to have to charge me, recover that $1,600 from me, right?
Exactly.
Well, from all of us.
Yeah.
And consequently, the goods go up to us, the prices go up for us.
Indeed. And you know something, as you're speaking, there's a way that they're doing of, you don't get a chance to touch your sweet pepper and touch your vegetables before you buy it. You buy it now in our bag. And so if you get 5 sweet pepper, one of them sweet pepper there, that throw away sweet pepper.
All the jury.
Right? So the person now, when you try to recover, you sell you stuff because you realize you can't throw it away.
And in the Baha'i faith, you are taught that this is not the age of love, this is the age of justice. And you must be just. You must not only seek justice, you must not only render justice, you must seek justice.
Yeah.
If I allow you, that's not a very easy thing for me. But I've come to realize over the years that if I let you be unjust to me, then I'm going to end up being unjust to somebody else down the line.
That's it.
So now, you know what that is coming from? Because that point you made, every time you buy a bunch of bananas, one of them is almost rotten, it's not completely rotten, and I can't eat a banana if it's soft.
I know like spotted banana.
Yeah. Then the oranges, you buy a set of oranges, one is going to be not good at all.
Yeah.
And you know why they do that, Nuri? That's to make up so they can have good ones and cover that same high cost.
Yep.
So when we all practice and when the government practices injustice and rapacious behavior, you end up turning the whole society into one big rapacious set of people. Everybody is playing for one another. Nobody being considerate. That is what you and remember, we come out of a history of a rapacious. I'm not speaking of Europe, but it happened in Africa, it happened in India, but I'm not going there. I'm just going to use Europe as an example. A rapacious church that was supposed to be about the business of God, more concerned about castles and beautiful gold-threaded clothes, all kind of things, caught up in war. Then you have the kingdom caught up in war, all the kingdom, and oh my goodness me, and the barons. And man, we haven't gone anywhere. We are living at that same level in time.
Yeah. Those behaviors still continue. Sister, I want your call back, but I have to take a break.
Okay, no problem.
All the best. It's 5 minutes now after 8 o'clock. We go to our next break. right, welcome back. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on a Friday morning, the 1st of November, the second to the last month of the year of 2024. A very eventful year. Sometimes we need to get that diary that comes in the newspapers at the end of the year to see all the things that we've gone through, because our memory just don't hold some of the eventful things that took place over the last 10 months. And now we're into the 11th and the 12th month of 2024. And we hope things are manageable for you. And that's all we can pray for the ordinary persons nowadays. It's managing our situation. Financially is the main management that we have to do. We have to bring down our luxury thinking, you know, not extra shoes, extra shirt, extra things, but focus on our needs as opposed to our wants. It's many times our wants that get us in trouble, and that's why advertisers focus not on your needs, but on your wants, on the things that, yes, you could afford it. Yes, man, treat yourself good. Go ahead and do that, man. If it ain't picnic, will get that, my picnic will get this too. And so you buy like the third, fourth, fifth, sixth pair of shoes because you're trying to keep up. And then you go to credit union to try to keep up. Then you make yourself into the victim of the loan shark to try to keep up. But to discipline yourself and to say, I will stay within my means until I'm able to improve my financial situation, you need some real grounding in order to do that, because the entire environment is about spend. It's a consumer society. But as we were talking earlier about how prices get raised and how sometimes it gets out of our reach, and this idea of corruption that we like to throw against the authorities, and in fact, at the UN level, at the World Bank level, at the IMF level, at these, what you would call multinational agencies that come in to evaluate our governance process, they always talk about the corruption level at the highest level in the society, rather than understanding that enabling environment of corruption that we are all involved in. So that when we do make it up to that higher level, we carry the same bad habits that we had accumulated and have become accustomed to at this lower level. We take it up to that higher level. You know, many times I've heard politicians say, that for we turn now, meaning that whatever they were doing, I have my turn to be able to do it. And nobody comes with a sort of religious orientation that I will live within my means and I will make sure that my areas of responsibility never breach this idea of dishonesty or this idea of injustice. Why? Because we've inherited a system that justifies, that says, well, if they do it, why no one do it? Cliff and I were talking earlier about the person who you would never think of him as being a criminal. As a matter of fact, the society has defined who are the criminals, what they look like, where they live, what is their color, what is their ethnicity. We have become so used to what you call typecasting those who are criminals, those who are dishonest, living in a certain area. And I'm sure the majority of you would say, well, most of the criminals they live Belize City, which means that if I lived at Baronco, you know, and see my dishonesty. If I live in Kukisaco, you don't see my dishonesty. If I live up in San Ramon, you don't see my dishonesty. Because that's not where the media focuses this thing named crime, this thing named dishonesty, that one Belize City thing. It's almost like if you come from Belize City and you get in an area, we start to watch you because I know where you come from. I know your color. I watch you because you look like them boy where I sit on TV. So It's a cycle that we are caught up in, and if we don't educate ourselves and our children and those around us that we can influence, we'll just be on this treadmill following down the line. I said to Cliff, if a person comes to the ordinary person who has 3 children in school, 1 in college, 2 in college, 1 in high school, and as the colleges now, their curriculum are moving more and more towards electronic gadgets such as laptops and tablets, etc., to speed up the process of doing homework, speed up the process of doing good papers because you have access to research. Every time you need a computer, you have to find one place where give away free laptop services at the library or some friend, etc., And then somebody come to you and say, hey, brother, boy, I got a problem here, you know, my cousin bring this laptop for me, but how I use them? I don't know how to use anything, yeah. I ain't into anything, yeah. But you know, I could sell you because, you know, give me only $500 for that. Now you know that this, for your common sense and for your awareness of the consumer prices, you know this is over $2,000. You know the quality, the newness is in a box and all. And this man, they charge you $500 for that. You know that the possibilities are that you don't get that legally. But you're not going to do no real due diligence to ensure that I know they get nothing way illegal and you know, go through all of that. Your honesty does not play that kind of role for you. You know, I don't want nothing because the sin of that one come upon me. You're not into that kind of thinking there. You into, boy, my daughter need this. And nobody know anyway. So you go ahead and you pay the $500. That's a part of the corruption that we are dealing with in the country. But it happens at that level. It's like the Lee boy always say to his pa, that I want to be one customs officer. Why you want to be a customs officer? Because all the customs officer where I look upon daddy, they always look like they're richer than them people who work as clerk over here and clerk over them. So I don't want that part of the job. I want one job where I know I could get something and I could come up real fast as opposed to somebody where they struggle for 30 years to come up. I could come up in 5 years and 10 years. So I know they throw dirty water upon customs and immigration, etc., but I'm saying the reality is that at this base level where we live, we only murmur about these dishonest behavior. We don't tell nobody about it. We don't upset anybody when it comes to it. We just say, I know me and do that. But the reality, it's being done. Yet when we talk about this thing called corruption, we are usually looking up. And I guess it's the dollar figure. Why make one nice but only $500 hustle as compared to a $5,000 or a $500,000 hustle? Somehow, as it goes up the mark, it sort of gets cleaner. Whereas down here, it looks dirty. So therefore, we are not concerned. We're not, you know, we talk about it, we make reports on it in terms of the news, but we don't carry nobody to jail. We don't carry nobody up in front of the courts. This man that is being charged now with human trafficking, and a battery of lawyers will come to make sure he not go to jail, and whatever fine he pays is affordable to him, and then he goes back and does the same thing. Why? Because that is a pattern that has existed for a long time. They bring people from outside of Belize. Many times they bring in people from areas where people are desperate to get away from where they are. They come into Belize, and the first thing these people do is say, give me your passport. I hold your passport, so you can't travel anywhere, so you become imprisoned in that particular country. You can't work because of me bring you in and of me work out the work permits, etc., etc. So if you work, you're illegal. And so to avoid being picked up by the police and being deported, you do what I say. Man, that has been going on for years. And it's still going on. And it will still go on even after the drama of this particular individual who is being taken before the court for the trafficking of one individual. Man, when you realize what has been going on in those areas there, and there are only one to do it, it's now happening more with the Indians. It's now happening more with the Bangladeshis. But I could remember when it was going on with the Arabs and the Lebanese, and they were doing the same thing. They are far more established now. But there was a time when they were holding the passport, and then people were coming here too, to make sure that you are work for me and you are put in the kind of work that you will do before I give you back your passport or give you one run. These people come in from China, they come in from these other areas here, and it's amazing how they're able to come in because they have connections and they have people who they can pay to ensure that they can bring these individuals into the country. And you can't say, well, you know, then the displaced Belizeans, because the rationale is, oh, Belizeans lazy, man, especially them black man, they lazy, they don't want to do the work. Or they don't want to get just one least small pay, where then people here, they pay these trafficked persons. When these people come in here trafficked and coming from an area where then they make equivalent of $100 rupees or those kind of, not dollars, but rupees, and it's just a little small amount of pocket change, and then they come here and they're underpaid according to our way in which we pay workers, but it's still far more than what they would make if they had stayed where they are. So to move here and to make what they make here, even though we Belizeans look at it and say, I know I work for that, they come and they work for that. It's very similar to what happens when we go to the States. The amount of money that we get when we work for the States, the Americans look and say, I don't work for that. Man, I'm making $36, $46, $50 an hour, and you here working for $10 an hour? I would never take a job like that. But we don't take that $10 because that $10 is $20 an hour, and that $20 an hour is not something that we would get at our level of experience and work in Belize. So it's a situation where we have to understand it's affecting us globally. Welcome, caller.
Well, I'm back again. You're discussing indentured labor, right?
Yes, indentured labor indeed.
Well, this is a problem. You see, Nuri, I am the only person who keeps harping on the cheap labor situation in the South. And the point has been made, well, those people should find somebody to defend them. But if we want a just society, if we want slavery to never happen again in this country, then every instance of slavery in this country, we must take it on and challenge it. Because if you close your eyes to the slavery of the enslavement of the other man, it's only a matter of time before you become enslaved. This indentured labor problem is not a new thing at all in this country. It has been going on. But we close our eyes to it, and the leadership, the political leadership, allows it. I had a beloved friend, Ricky Major. I don't know if you knew Ricky. Did you know Ricky?
Remind me.
Ricky was in the business of selling fruits and vegetables. He and his wife were first down here at the foot of the bridge there. Then they went up to the fort.
Oh, you mean by Central Drugstore there?
No, Ricky was in where the market used to be in the commercial center. Remember, there was the old market.
Right.
Then from there, they moved them up to the fort. And Rick went up to the fort. Rick's business was, he had a going concern. And one day Ricky told me, I don't remember how I went there to shop and I got into conversation with him. And he told me about his experience in helping to liberate a number of Indian women caught up in the horrible cycle of indentured labor. And Rick had lived in the States for many years, had served in the U.S. Army and was afraid of nobody. So the ladies would come to shop for their employers. And somewhere along the line, they must have grasped that Ricky would be a person who would understand and assist them. And so the first one shares her story, and before you know it, is going, I think about maybe about 2 dozen. I don't know how much later, I don't have 3. Because he took on the employers, you see. And what happens is they pay for your travel.
Right.
So you owe them your travel costs, maybe a little money left with your family back home, maybe. And those people work for years with, what's her name, Nuri? I knew one of those girls who is she's still my good friend, but I haven't seen her in years. She was indentured for almost 20 years. When she came here, she was a young girl with 2 small children in India. One of them was crippled. And she worked. The same thing has happened. So you're going to tell me that our political leadership doesn't know that's happening if I know?
Yeah, exactly.
They know.
Of course they know.
There was a house on Regent Street where one day I heard this horrible bawling and howling. And this is long ago. So I was visiting somebody in the neighborhood, and I said, what is that? I thought somebody was being killed. And she said, Sandra, they're beating. I said, what? What you talking about? I said, oh my God, beaten, you know, Nuri, beaten. So we Belizeans have known this is happening, but we shut our ears and go about the business. You can't shut your ears and go about your business. When other humans are being taken advantage on the soil where our ancestors were once slaves.
Exactly, yeah.
You must stand up every time. I don't care the color of the person's skin, the texture of their hair. No, you stand up. You know why you stand up? Because one day it will come to you. And I'm going to use Lebanon as an example. When the Israeli attack began in Lebanon, you know, I'm not shocked, but I was saddened. Hundreds, if not thousands of young Sierra Leoneans, Nigerians, people from Mali, all over West Africa, who go there to work and they have their passports, and when the fighting began, the employers fled and left the poor girls abandoned, Nuri.
Wow.
And so luckily, some kind Lebanese is helping some of them. I don't know how many, and it's all. Yet they don't even have their passport. So they are now stateless people. They were not, but the employers held their passports. So what is happening in Lebanon causes me immense pain because I have beloved people there. However, when you do wrong to people, it's only a matter of time before wrong comes to your doorstep, right or wrong?
That is absolutely, yeah.
You see, the Arab world is an extremely racist world. That never make a fool with us. So those girls are employed as nannies, cooks, teachers, all kind of things, you know.
Oh yes.
And for a little bit of money, but struggling to survive, they go. And now, with this war, there are people now in the midst of a war that has nothing to do with them, abandoned by the people who brought them into Lebanon with no passport, no papers in their hands, Nuri.
Wow.
They describe some said that some kind organization is trying to host them in, and they are struggling now to get their papers to try and get out of Lebanon. You see?
Wow.
So Lebanon itself needs to rectify its behavior and change and grow.
Yeah, yeah.
Not what Israel is doing is absolutely wrong and absolutely intolerable and despicable. However, this situation that they reported shows that the Lebanese themselves are prepared to treat other people in a similar way.
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
Yeah. So I am calling on Belizeans. When you know these things are happening, look at those poor people in the south. $2, I think they didn't get the $5 increase that was given for wages. They didn't get it.
No.
Because for us, we will keep them as agricultural labor, but the agricultural labor is needing to buy the same goods that we buy at a higher price and survive.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right, good.
And not good.
Thank you, sister. That reminds me, before we go to the next break, that it's hard to get to this thing that sociologists call critical mass, which means a large enough amount of people are aware and are concerned and say no. And when that critical mass takes place, you usually have one change. It doesn't change by having an individual like Ms. Koi knowledgeable, and those of us who listen growing in that knowledge. And so you have a handful of people who are aware of that injustices and hate the injustice and will not tolerate the injustice in our small circle. But until this reaches what they call a critical mass, where a lot of people talk about it, that's what politicians try to do during campaign. They try to create a critical mass against the PUP or against the UDP so that when that voting takes place, it's a bunch of people who think the same way. Well, it's the same thing with injustice. If you don't build that consciousness of this is wrong. Back in the 60s, there was a man named Cesar Chavez in California. I was going to school at the time. I was amazed at Mr. Chavez's rebellion. Well, he was a farm worker in Fresno Valley in the California state. And they were misusing the farm workers that were coming across the border to keep the American, and I believe it was citrus. I was pretty sure it's citrus and not banana. But it was a product that was on the supermarket shelves for everybody, that they took it for granted, but they never thought about the injustice of the farm workers who were suffering, who were not being paid properly, who were being brought across the border and living in deplorable condition. And Cesar Chavez stood up as one of them and began to echo their call. And then that call, because it was the 60s, which was a very anti-establishment sentiment that was running all through the country of the United States, his cause, the La Raza cause, grew and became stronger and stronger. And the ordinary person in California stopped buying because it had become critical mass. They stopped buying that product of which the Mexican American or the Mexicans who were coming across, the immigrants who were coming across, were suffering. But had that, and my point is that as a result of that, those owners had to readjust and start to pay those farm workers what they deserve to be paid. And Cesar Chavez, of course, went up as an international hero. We used to talk about Cesar Chavez just like we used to talk about Nelson Mandela and others, because he made such a difference. The point I'm trying to relate to us here in Belize is that wherever there is injustice, if it is not talked about, if it is not highlighted, if we don't build that critical mass, then there are many of us who will understand that it's happening, but it don't make no difference, it don't make no change, because it has to reach a level where the majority understands that this thing needs to change, and as a result of my personal effort to do something about it, or to not contribute to why it's like that, It's only in that process that we will see change. It not happen by read Facebook and say, oh man, look what they do here, this wrong, man, this not correct, this a chance, and put two or three comments in there, and then it lasts for a week or 2 weeks, and then it dies, and then the same injustice continues. That's not so that work. It has to be, as they say, a movement towards conscientizing and making people understand that no one stand. Now, we expect our political leaders to do that, but many times politicians are very careful because tomorrow you might be in that exact same position and you may end up not being able to speak on it or crush it out because it's a part of how the system works. And if you start to plug out this part, you affect this part. So politicians tend to be pragmatic and they tend to go over things that they know are unfair and unjust because it's not politically feasible for them to do something about it. But what about our religious leaders who serve God and who serve a higher level of principle? How come they're not out there leading the charge for justice? What causes them to believe that all I need to do is talk about it in my sermon or in my khutbah or in my simile, and it's enough because I did speak about it and my congregation did hear about it? No. You got to go more than that. Jesus did not say, oh, I'm just going to leave it to these 12 disciples here. He went out. He spoke way out. He traveled. He went all over the place with that prophetic voice. So our religious leaders, who in fact should be as important to us as our political leaders, most times are mute on these issues. We'll take our next break and we'll be back.
rapes in California because of that law. So I hope somebody will amend that law in California with the three-strike law, because she has a main issue in that law. I got friends doing life in Nuri Muhammad because of her.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't mad at her, but at the same time, I got a lot of brothers doing life in jail, Nuri. You know about that law?
I know very well about that law. I used to work in the California correction system back in the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, so I'm very much aware that there are many young males, and I'm talking about 17, 18 years, who are now in their 50s because they've spent so much time based on that 3 strikes, you're out. And yes, she was a prosecutor, and a very effective prosecutor, and the way you judged her stature was the amount of people that she sent to jail when she was a prosecutor. This is even before she became a senator. But I don't know that you remain with the status or the definition of who you are based on only your early politics, because many times, especially when you get up to this level of presidency, you kind of have to adjust yourself. Take, for example, we are faced, those of us outside of the United States have been watching the atrocities going on in the Gaza. And we have just said, oh my God, I mean, as a Muslim, I feel an affinity to the deaths that I see. But it does not require your religious orientation to have a strong feeling that this is wrong as a human being. So a lot of people have been looking at this and saying, man, if America was not giving the weapons and the logistical and strategic support that they were giving to Israel, if they would just say stop, then Israel would have to back down. So that has been a claim, ceasefire, stop doing what you're doing. But we have 2 candidates there who the policy in terms of what's going on in the Gaza, what's going on in Africa, what's going on the level of the world politics is not going to change drastically, whether it's Republican or Democrats, because it is that military industrial complex that has a strong influence on what is going on the world scene when it comes to war and conflicts. So I don't see any big difference between Biden and Harris, and Trump, nor Harris and Trump.
Okay, Nuri, another thing, Nuri. Within the last 2 or 3 years, I'll big up to all the people that come to America because they want to have a better life in America, but that border is wide open. You got hundreds of people, thousands come. People call, hey, can you pick me up at San Diego? I ain't picking you up nowhere, but at the same time, America have a lot of terrorists coming into this country. Speak easy. I ain't dumb. We ain't dumb in America. A lot of people come in here on asylum, but you got a lot of terrorists coming inside this country or getting caught at the border and sent to Cuba and everything. So we got terrorists inside of our own country, and we try to fight terrorists that's outside the country.
Yeah.
Look, these people are not playing. Trust me, we ain't dumb. This terrorist in America right now with that border wide open. Nuri Muhammad.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're pointing that out, because another one of the high points is what are they going to do with immigration, and which is a contradictory thing because America is made up of immigrants. The original people that came to America from Europe were immigrants. They didn't bond there. They found people there and they built a nation, but over a period of time, instead of having what the Statue of Liberty says, give me your poor and your all these what's written on the Statue of Liberty, that is not how America is thinking now. America is thinking keep them out because they're coming in, they're getting on welfare, they're depriving our own local people. So there's a strong thinking that is anti-immigration. And that's not just the Republican, but the Democrats also feel self-conscious And so they're
Yeah.
trying to be just
Yeah,
as
look,
hostile as the Republicans when it comes to that.
Biden deported more people than Trump.
Look here, you know who got the record is Obama. Obama has the record of being the president that deported the majority of people who were deported during his 8 years. You know?
Exactly. You know, I know Democrat, I know Republican, but people always look at the Republican as a bad guy. But the Democrats deported more than Republicans. Like you said.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I got one more issue for 30 seconds in Belize with my black brothers. I know I hang out with my brothers and drink and smoke, but my brothers down there, you talking about, y'all need to check up on your health, because y'all got dry skin, your eyes are, your pupils are red, you're dehydrated, y'all not drinking water. Some of y'all walking around like the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I watched a few young soldiers in Daguiga the other day. I don't remember it's natural causes, but they just died in the age of 30 years old. They just
Crazy.
dropped it.
It's crazy, brother. It's crazy, brother. It's crazy. We're not looking after our health. And like you say, a simple thing like drinking water. People are drinking beer, soft drink, and they figure this is a liquid. They're not doing a simple thing like drinking water. And then, you know, drinking your 8 glass of water a day. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, on a vacation, I ain't gonna lie, I might buy a 48-pack case of beer, but my boys drink more beer than they drink water for the day in some places. Some men do. They drink more beer than they drink water down here in Belize, which causes a lot of diabetes and stuff like that.
Yes, brother. Yes, and diabetes
Anyway,
has...
I know you gotta go pretty soon.
Yeah, we got to go. But you saw in the news that diabetes is still one of our major killers in Belize. And as Dr. Musa said, that over the years, we have not been able to bring it down. And they use these...
The liquor.
Yeah. We've been able to... Yeah, we've been able to bring down malaria almost to the point where it's disappeared. But we are not doing a concerted effort to make sure. Like a few years ago, we started to ban children having access to these little sweet things when they buy outside of the schools. But they've gone right back to that. They didn't maintain that. So people are still doing that. We've got to talk to the soft drink companies. You know, we've got to talk to those people that are putting this excess carbohydrates and sweets in the environment, because with people without knowledge will consume these things, and that's what keeps us at, which keeps us at, and really obesity has become a major problem in the Caribbean, and we see it in Belize. Everybody gonna leave belly nowadays. So, and it's not necessarily a belly with health, but it's a belly with junk. So anyway, I don't want to get cussed out for saying some last comments before we end today, my brother. Thank you for your call.
Yes, sir. Allah is Akbar.
Yes, he always is. Always is. All right, let's take our last break, come back and close. welcome back, and we're just at the end. I just got a visit from my brother, my soul brother, Evan X. Hyde, and you know, he's looking strong, very energetic, and you know, may Allah continue to bless him. He's kind of gone low key compared to how he was 50 years ago, but he's still very much a force, and it's important to recognize institutions. And institutions are not just places and things, but institutions are also people, and you need to recognize that. We've had a reduction of respect for elders in Belize, and that's unfortunate. Partially the fault of the elders that we try to be what we're not. We're not young, we're getting older. But old was made to look over the last 20, 30 years as nothing where I really want to be. So our women try to look younger even though they're getting older, and our men try to look younger even though they're getting older. And it's almost as though we don't embrace the elder, because the elder was put in a position that, well, he's not as viable, he's not as handsome, he's not as energetic, and so therefore, if we're not careful, we have a spirit of discarding and pushing back. So we need to not do that. We need to recognize that the age has a role to play, and that in most societies, the respect of the elders is a requirement for the young. We are not people who come from a culture of taking our age and putting them in Sister Cecilia home. That is not our role. Our role is not to take them out and deprive our young children from their interaction with their grandmothers and their grandfathers. We've got to change that. That is that European and American thing to make up these nice looking homes so that we don't feel as guilty as taking our elders and putting them away because we don't want the crotchetiness and we want the usual, I'm tired of hearing you, or Opa, I'm tired of hearing you. But maybe we're tired of hearing them because we're not listening to them enough so that they can pass on their experiences through us so to affect the young. And we should recognize that the young are really misbehaving. They're going wild because the transfer of the knowledge and the experience from the elder to us, the middle, to the younger ones that come from us has been broken. And that break has affected us. So it was good to see Evan X. Hyde this morning and to embrace him as our brother. One of these days I'll talk to you about our history together, because our history was troubled for a long period of time, but it has been reconciled now for over 15 years. And so what we had as an ego, which is probably the base of why we disagreed with each other, our ego in the early days prevented us from working together as we should have been working together. But as I said, over the last 15 years, that has changed. And I always give credit to first getting older and mature, but I give credit to Minister Farrakhan, who brought us both together and told us, brothers, you've got to stop this. You're like two ships going in the exact same direction, but you're not connected. So we listened to that advice, and over the last 15 years, we've established the brotherhood that we should have maintained from the very beginning. Anyway, we thank you for being with us. We thank those who were the background, our brother Anthony Grant in the simulcast. Our MCO today was Alexei Belaid. Also heard Harlan Wagner. And of course, Mr. Cliff Lewis, who is the connector, the man who keeps it all together. We appreciate the first caller, my brother from Racecourse Street, and I also appreciate Miss Sandra, who called twice today. Belizeans, stand strong, man, and stand firm. Not the wobble, 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 wobble. Stand strong, your children are looking at you. And always do the right thing, because if you do wrong, he'll come back on you and bite you when you least expect it. For now, we're gone!
Belize, wake up, Belize. Another day, there. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. We gotta keep moving. Na 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 na. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Billies. Wake up, Billies. Voice of opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show of people. Billies our hopes up to needless reason. Nobody feel left out in the vibe we dealing. It's not a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No respect on selfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes to the obey. And all the things that will happen like dark and blue skies. And